Hey people, today we're going to be reading chapter 14 of I Survived the Bombing of Pearl Harbor, 1941, by Lauren Tarshis. December 25th, 1941, 7:30 a.m. On Christmas morning, Denny was awakened by a strange noise. He sat up in bed, wide awake, wondering if he needed to wake up Ma, if they had to rush to the air raid shelter down the road. There had been drills all week. Everyone knew where they were supposed to go if the Japanese attacked. Denny peeked around the blackout curtains on his window. Every house had to have these curtains. It had to be pitch dark at night so the Japanese didn't see any targets from the sky. Danny hated being inside a sealed-up house. It made him think of being in a coffin, buried alive. It scared Danny. Pretty much everything scared Danny. You have to be crazy not to be scared with what was happening in the world, with America being at war with both Japan and Germany now. More troops were arriving in every day at Pearl Harbor. Soon they were all sent out to fight the Japanese in the Pacific. Even Mac, who was almost well. He was almost well enough to start running missions in his B-17. Denny knew Mac was sad to be leaving. He and Ma were good friends now. Denny never did have to make Ma go out to dinner with him. She asked him herself. Denny was scared for Ma when she went to take care of the men at Hickam. He was scared for Mr. Pseudo, that he might get arrested again. He was scared that something bad could happen to Aki. But Denny decided being scared was better than being numb. If he were numb, he wouldn't be able to feel happy. And there were times where he caught himself smiling. Like when Matt came for dinner, or when Mr. Pseudo was teaching him to draw, or when Aki rushed by with his crazy monkey smile. With no idea that so many things were happening, and of course there was Finn. Finn was better now. Danny found out because Ma had been allowed to use the phone at the hospital to call Mrs. Mills. Ma wanted her to spread the word to the neighborhood that she and Danny were safe. Mrs. Mills told her that Earl and all of his guys had enlisted in the army. The most important news, Finn was out of the hospital. He was staying with Mrs. Mills. Denny liked the sound of that. He was writing Finn a long letter and about what had happened to him during the attack. Ma said that all letters from Hawaii would be censored. Soldiers would read his letter and cross out any information that could help the enemy. Denny didn't mind. He'd even asked Mr. Pseudo to draw a picture of Aki for him to send. Mr. Pseudo instead would help Danny draw the picture. It was almost done. It wasn't good, but it didn't stink too bad. Danny put his head on the pillow. At least the morning birds had come back. He liked to listen to them sing. But there was that strange sound again that had woken him up. It sounded like a baby whimpering. Was Aki out there? He hadn't wondered since his father came home, but Danny wanted to make sure. He threw on some clothes and went outside in the yard. He followed the sound to the prickly bushes. It wasn't Aki. There, shaking was a leaf, was a baby wild boar with one white ear. Danny looked around. Its mother monster was nowhere to be seen. The baby was all alone. Danny picked it up. The baby had changed in the past 3 weeks, like everything else. Danny held it up and looked the little guy in the eye. He looked scared and tough. Like he'd be happy to see someone in the eye to keep an eye on him. Danny wasn't sure if it was possible to keep a wild boar as a pet. In fact, he was pretty sure it was a very bad idea. But at the moment, Dan decided not to think about it, or anything else, as he headed up to the Pseudos with the baby resting in his arms. All he was thinking about was how Aki would smile when he saw his Christmas present.